Hello class, this is Scott Caruso from MDF2, the 1304 term, here with my week 1 reflection video. We'll go take a look at the project that I did in just a second, but first just talk real quick about how this week went. All in all, I thought it was a pretty successful week. I loved that the due date was Friday instead of Thursday for the first week. That made me pretty happy. But the concepts this week made a whole lot of sense. The only thing I really, I guess you could say, struggled with was parsing the JSON data for the Twitter. I had some issues with the date formats and the number formats that came through, but in general, the concepts this week made a lot of sense. I'm really happy with how my basic foundations of Objective-C programming are coming along. I'm very rarely running into problems with the basic syntax and the basic building blocks of putting together views and having them work together. So in that regard, it went really well, and I love working with external data sources, so it was really nice to get into that and do some of that this week. I'll show you in the code a little bit where I ran into some particular problems, but like I said, there wasn't really one thing that didn't make sense to me or that I struggled with. It was just some of the JSON parsing didn't go as smoothly as I would have liked. But we'll take a look at what I did this week, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. So here you see the main view for my application called Tweet Awesome. It shows my own personal Twitter timeline. Here, if you can pop over, I need some user details. Give it 1 second. Total that information up. It's actually pulling from the API, so it pulls up information about the particular user. You click on one of these, it takes you to more details about that particular tweet. You can add tweet. This is my tweet. And then you can then refresh the list. Actually gives you a little warning, and there you go. So that's the basics of how this works. The biggest things that I wish I could have done a little bit better this week, there are two things. Number one, if you come over here to my code, I can show you in the popover controller that's essentially the controller that brings the user details in. I essentially do a complete other authentication and data pull here. In a perfect world, I would have taken the time to pull all of this data in the main view so that there's not a secondary information load that occurs when you go to the user details view. I don't like that the user has to wait around another 2 to 3 seconds for data to populate. But in the interest of time, I did it the brute force method to get everything to appear in that popover the way I wanted to. So that's one of the things that's not quite as smooth that I would like. The other thing that didn't turn out as great as I would have hoped is let's go to the view controller, the main view controller, real quick. If you see here where I'm pulling in things like retweets or favorites, when I pull those those things in, those particular data points in, if I simply just pull in the numbers, my application was crashing on a quite a regular basis, and I was not able to ever debug or figure out why exactly it was doing that. I think there was an invalid data types being passed in. But essentially what I ended up doing was taking this number of retweets as an example and turning it into a longer string. You can see here I actually call it a retweets extended. And that fixed the problem and made everything work better. But again, given more time, I would have made this much cleaner and actually just passed in the number rather than a modified string that I had to make based on all that information. But that, in a nutshell, is week 1. I hope everyone else had a great week as well, and I will talk to you all again for week 2.